And I think as a Christian, we should see people from a different perspective. They are built and made to the image of God. They have a value that goes beyond everything. And we need to honor that. They will work from their heart and not for a paycheck. And they will perform much better and work on a higher level. That people have a value in itself. And that they are not only production means or cost on an Excel sheet.
Wouter Droppers, thank you for being here today. Please, before we go into some very interesting questions, I think, tell us about yourself, what you do now, and why are you here?
Yeah, my name is Wouter Droppers. I'm president of Europartners. Europartners is a movement that helps to bring the gospel in the marketplace. And basically we have two objectives: to make Christ known among business leaders and to help Christian business leaders to intentionally live out the gospel in their entrepreneurship, leadership, and who they are.
I had the privilege to listen to one of your speeches last year, and one thing really touched me, and I would like to challenge you to tell that story again. I will tell you which story, because I really think that in our faith-driven entrepreneurial ecosystem in Romania, I think we can really benefit from the moral of that story. And the story was about when you became a young leader in a very large company in the Netherlands. I think it was a Land Rover dealership. I don't know if we can mention it or not, but I think it does you honor. And you mentioned a challenge that you got from the owner of that company when you wanted to implement a new, let's say, a new way of leadership from that position. Can you tell us that story again?
Yeah, it was, we did a takeover of another leadership. I was president of several leaderships, and we bought a new one. And then I did more or less the due diligence. I did the interview with all the people. We're looking at the structure of the company and how to reorganize it and make it profitable again. And so I interviewed all the people, and I saw many people that I thought they did not meet the bar. They did not perform well. And so I made a list, these people out. I bring some people from our current company, bring it in, and then with 1 year we will be profitable again. And I presented that to the CEO of the holding, and he said, "Wouter, I thought you were a Christian." And he knew that I was a Christian. I said, "Yeah, what is the problem?" He said, "You are firing all these people." I said, "Yeah, but within 1 year we need to make profit. We have good stewards. We have a responsibility." He said, "But that's a culture I don't like." He asked me, why is it that these people don't function? I said, "You know the former leader. He had wrong KPIs. He was not managing it well. He let people do whatever they want, and there was no control. There was no strategy, no vision." And he said, "So the leader defines the performance of the people." I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Oh, you are the new leader. Train them, help them, develop them, give them a vision and guide them and make them perform well. And after 3 years, when not, we can also always see what we do." And that helped me to think different about people. That people have a value in itself. And that they are not only production means or cost on an Excel sheet. He was not a Christian. But I learned more about ethics in business from him than from my faith or initially from my upbringing.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. How do you think this suits or this stands with the modern approach, let's say, in the corporate world, where a human being is just a number on a sheet? And if that person follows the company policy, moves ahead, otherwise it's left behind.
Yes.
How do we mitigate this?
Yeah, I think slowly we come to the end of that culture because there's a scarcity of labor, scarcity of people, and more companies you see, oh, we need to take care of our people. We need to keep them in the company, otherwise we will lose them. So the whole idea that some companies had, we will always fire 2% of our staff at the end, the one who performed the less, and then change them for new people. Or when you don't make progress in moving up, then you have to leave. I think that system slowly comes to an end and people see that it is not working. But the background is still the benefit of the company. So it's not about the person itself that they change. It's about the interest of the company that they change their culture. And I think as a Christian, we should see people from a different perspective. They are built and made to the image of God. They have a value that goes beyond everything. And we need to honor that. And that's a different approach. So I don't approach them as a production means and I would like to keep them because otherwise my company will suffer. I would like to approach them as of inward worth and value just because they are a human being. And from that perspective, you would like to give them the best. And the best for people is often not just to give them everything they long for or to give them an easy life. The best for people is that they can put their talents, their competences, their skills into practice in a position where they can flourish and where they are designed for. And it could happen that over time you discover that your staff is working at a position they are not designed for. They don't match the requirement for this position. They don't give the performance that this position needs. And over time it will frustrate them. So you help them to improve them, if improvement is possible, or you help them to replace them to another job. And that could also be outside your company where they can flourish because they start to work in their skills. Mm-hmm.
But at this point I will ask you, isn't this approach too expensive for the company? Maybe in a regular scenario, you have 6 months, maybe 1 year to let someone develop and perform, and otherwise you do a report and then you let that person go. But in your system, in the system you're suggesting, maybe this takes more than 1 year, maybe it takes 2 years, 3 years. Is it affordable for a company, for a faith-based company, to think in these terms and in a way neglect the costs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I think that the first mistake many companies make is they don't do the recruitment on a proper way. They just say, he's a nice guy, he had some education, let us try. But if you tell yourself as an owner, let us try, then you don't value him. And I think it's better that you have a good job description. What are the requirements I need? What is the outcome I want for this job? And then you do a proper testing of this person. I don't want to spoil your life or to frustrate you after a year. I really want to make a good match. And therefore I make already an investment at the start for you. And that saves you also a lot of cost in the process and in the end, or by firing people, hiring you, etc. All the unrest you create in the team will see, he's just firing people, he doesn't take us serious, so that will reflect to others and the way they work as well. So it all starts with recruitment. Then you know, okay, I have the right person, he should fill the requirements, and then you can train them. But I think more important than train them in their job, what they need to do is that you feel aligned next step to competences. Back. I think you have 3 C's who are important. That is the competences. The second one is the click. Do you have a click with the team? And the third one is character. So you try at the recruitment process to measure the competences. That's a clear objective. Then you ask yourself, but his values, his passion, the way he lives, the way he think about life, the think about work, thinks about a company. Does that match with our culture, with our values, with what we think about life? And nowadays I see more and more people who don't come for a paycheck because they can work everywhere, because there's scarcity, there's hardly any unemployment anymore. So they look for the preferred employer. And the preferred employer is the employer who give meaning to their life, where they can make a difference in society, where they can make a difference for their family. And that has to do with culture. And culture is more or less what I call the spiritual capital of the company. The spiritual capital, that what is deep rooted there, where your purpose is, where your why is, where your values are, where your passion is about this world, where And that together creates a culture where people feel aligned to or not. And I think when people feel aligned to the culture and they have the competences to do it, they will work from their heart and not for a paycheck. And they will perform much better and work on a higher level. And then you also have the click, and that is do they work within the team? Can they work with the team as you want to delegate more, and you want to make nowadays we work more on a lean organization or a teal organization, and teal organization is that the responsibility for decisions are made lower in the team, so they don't go upward to the CEO and then downward and he has to decide everything. No, you think when they are competent, when they share the passion and the values, when they share the culture, they can make their own decisions. I don't have to be involved, and that creates ownership and more engagement of the staff. And it helps you to get rid of a team of managers you have to pay, because these people are qualified to do it themselves. I think if you start to think in these terms, then you build an organization and a company that values people, that honors them, that respects them, that gives them the opportunity to grow. And yeah, there you have also your solution for the biggest problem nowadays we face in companies is scarcity of labor.
I was about to ask you about this. Do you think by setting forth such an example, such a company culture, let's call it, do you think it has the danger of not appealing to too many people, because your main intention is to hire fast because you need it? Will this not set people away in a way?
Yeah. So you select your people. But I think it's important to select your people and have a lower growth path than maybe just hiring, because you also select your clients. You also get the clients you want. The clients will connect to your purpose, to connect to your culture, and just to work in an environment where an vibrant environment where everyone flourishes, where people have joy, where there is laughter, where we work together on a common goal. You know, that gives me much more fulfillment and rewards as an entrepreneur than just the money or to grow.
I want to say something here. The picture you painted, it's almost idyllic. I would want to work in such a company. Is it possible to have such companies? Is it possible in 2024 to have such companies?
Yeah, I think it is. And I see even more and more companies who said we only focus on culture. We don't focus on targets anymore. We don't focus on goals anymore. We focus on culture because we know if we build the right culture, the right outcome will be there. Mm-hmm. And sure, when you work in a company, a corporate at the stock exchange, and you have shareholders, and the shareholders go for profit maximization, there is this tension that is hard to overcome, and that is very challenging. Now, and a good example, I think, is Unilever. Unilever is a big international company. Their former president was Paul Polman, a Dutch guy. And he was really looking and living in this tension about shareholder value and changing the world and impact the world for good and building this culture. And I think he did it at a very good way. But still, you always will have shareholders who go for profit maximization. Therefore, raising capital at the stock exchange, I doubt if that is for these kind of companies the best way. I think there are a lot of private investors, private equities, who also would like to invest in these kind of companies to impact the world and make a change. Now, and that brings us to where we are here at Forge. Forge tries to gather these kind of people who would like to see business work in a kingdom way and to invest in frontier and emerging markets to build this culture that over time a sustainable model is there that is really blessing the nation and not only creates money. And I think to get rid of this idea to create only money, we need to understand that there are more forms of capital. And we in Europartners, we understand 7 forms of capital that are important and we try to make grow and to value. And just to broaden the perspective, I think human capital is a very important one. That is you as a person of value. Another one is productive capital. That is what you bring to the table, your creativity, your talents, your intellect, etc. There you produce with. Then we have a relational capital. Relational capital is the way you relate to your city, to your environment, to society, but also your ecosystem you work in, or the teams you work with. Then we have manufacturing capital. That's just the hardware, the cars, the buildings, the technology we use. We have natural capital. That's creation. That's what God already gave to us. And sure, we also have financial capital. But financial capital is more or less the liquidity in the system. It's a currency, and a currency is just an exchange tool. And a currency only gets its value when you trade it to something else. So money in itself has no value. You cannot eat it, it's just a paper. It gets its value when you are able to buy something with it. So what you gain with it, that is the value. And we are starting to value the exchange rate in itself, or the currency, instead of what you can do with it. And I think you always have to look at what you can do with it. Simon Sinek gives a great example. He sees a company as a car, and he sees money as the fuel. And he's saying, you don't drive the car for buying fuel. You drive the car to go somewhere. So money helps you to come somewhere, but it's just a tool. It's about the goal, it's about the purpose of your company, the why, what you do. That is important.
It's a means to an end.
It's a means to an end.
Amazing perspective. Last question. These days we talk a lot about community building, corporate culture. How do we build a community inside a company? We have all these strategies like branding, internal branding, free coffee, free protein bar. Is it this way that we build a company culture, or do we need to do more?
Yeah, many companies do that to attract people because we have scarcity of labor. But what we see, if you talk about well-being of staff, and there was a survey among Mars Corporation, they looked at what is really benefiting to the well-being of staff and what do people really like. And the first thing, by far, what stood on number one is that the direct manager live the values of the company. That they see in the guy who is managing them, their leader, that he lives the purpose, the culture of the company, that where they signed for, what they would like to live for. So walk the talk. That is so important. And you can only walk the talk when you really believe in it from your heart. So just to pretend, window dressing, do it for a purpose. You know, nowadays people done with it, seen it, too many promotions, there's too many fake, and we want to see real people from flesh and blood living it, even at the expense of own costs or own suffering. That is said, but I believe in it. And there you get your buy-in. So this heart transformation is not easy. Because what we present, as you already told me, is countercultural, it's counterintuitive, it's not natural to do. But I think we have a great God who would like to change our heart. The wise King Solomon said, from all the things you should treasure your heart and guard it, because from that comes the streams, it's the source of life. And then Jesus is saying, where your treasure is, there is your heart. So if your treasure is still in making money, you can pretend I'm here for another reason, but your heart is still there and it will always reflect. But we have one thing that comforts us. In Ezekiel 37, I think it is, that God said, and I would like to give you a new heart. I would like to give you change your heart from stone to a heart from flesh that is compassionate, that is graceful, that cares about people, that is filled with my spirit. And when my spirit is there, and Jesus is saying, living streams of water, living water flows out of it. So if we can become that person that is transformed from inside out, and the people see this living water flowing, because we genuinely care, we are really changed, then they will respect, and then you have a real buy-in.
So Wouters, you've been visiting Romania for many years now. I want to ask you the following question. What do you sense spiritually in Romania, in the faith-driven ecosystem? And if you were to be 40 years old again, and you would know everything that you know now, and you would be a Romanian guy, not a Dutch guy, what would you do here?
Now, first, what I experienced is Romania is really emerging. It's growing, economy is growing. I'm amazed about the level of spiritual maturity that is there. People are still believers. 90% of the nation is Christian, but also the Baptist, the Brethren movement. There are a lot of Christ followers, even in business. These people like to invest in Romania. I see your heart. We would like to Romania grow. The disadvantage, what I see, they all do it on their own. They all have their own foundation, or said, well, we build a school here, and they would like to put their name or their label on it. And if you could overcome this idea, I need to profile myself, I need to become important, I need to work my way up to the top, I need to be the person of this movement, then you could do a lot more. So I believe there is a huge value in cooperation and using each other. And that together you can do more. It's not only about many hands make the work light, but also if you can use each other differences, each other's specialism. And I think to use each other difference, that brings a different angle, brings a different skill, and that makes that 1 + 1 is more than 2. And the problem I see in Romania, that's I would like to work with you if you think like me, or if you act like me, or if you listen to me. Then we can cooperate. But to overcome these differences, that you are completely different like me, but nevertheless, I respect you and I would like to work with you, and we have a common goal, and the common goal is to build a kingdom in Romania, or to make Romania grow. That would be the transformative factor, I think, the key to unlock prosperity and also kingdom building and church building in Romania.
What about the 40-year-old Wouters? That's a Romanian guy, knowing everything he knows. What would he do here now in 2024?
My biggest challenge would be to leave my ego behind. And I think that is because I tell Romania, but it's also my story. I work my way up to the top. I want to be seen. I want to be on the stage. I want to be the important guy. I want to receive the recognition. I want to have the praises of my parents and the praises of society. I need to leave my ego behind, because otherwise I cannot invest in other people. Otherwise I try to use other people for my goals, and to be sincere about listening and understanding other people and their perspective and what I can learn from it and how we can work together to a common goal. I think that's the big challenge. And that, I think, is the big challenge of the gospel as well. So many people maybe say, I'm a Christian. But if you cannot leave your ego behind and crucify it and have this new life that Christ would like to offer by his resurrection, then everything will be in vain. And that is a spiritual lesson, it's a practical lesson, and it's also a lesson, I think, for the community.
Wouters, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.